Have you ever gotten your feedback from dance competitions and listened to it going, what the heck are they even talking about? Well, today I'm here to help you decode some of the dancer jargon that the judges are using. Hello and welcome back to Dance Colleges and Careers. I'm your host, Brittany Noltemeyer, and this is the podcast where we talk about all things dance, colleges, and of course those dance competitions as well. Today we are going to decipher what the judges really mean in their comments. This is part one where we're going to be talking about posture, placement, and presence. So I have 5 topics we're going to be talking about today, and the very first one is when the judge tells us to stand tall. So this is one where you might find it annoying to hear it from a judge. If they say, make sure you're standing up taller, or make sure you still have a long back, a long spine, and that is in the dancer's brain when they're going, I already am. But we must not be standing up to our fullest capability. If we are told to stand tall, it probably means we're not squeezing our muscles and showing off our best level of technique that we possibly can. So I think this is a really, really big one when it comes to any position on the ground. Because a lot of times if we're on the ground and we're here and maybe we do this shoulder pop or we have gestures on the floor, a lot of times we'll hear make sure you're sitting up because it's so easy to let the spine round on the floor. And what you really need to do is still sit tall, roll those shoulders back and down, and have your best posture. Because if you don't, then it gives us this really short neck. Yeah, and then we start to look like these characters from the South Park cartoon. And we don't want to do that. As dancers, we want to show length, because when we are long, when we show length in our body, it helps us take up the entire stage and show that we are powerful and we can use all of our space. Whether it's a large or small stage, that's not the point. It presents you as this large and in charge dancer. The next topic is when we hear tummy in. This also means rib cage in. So it could be tummy in or rib cage in. Now, this is very, very important. Make sure you are listening up. If you get this feedback, if you get this note in dance class or from a judge or a teacher, it does not mean that they are calling you fat. You hear me? That is not what it means at all. What it means is that you're not engaging your abdominal muscles or you're not engaging your core, and we're letting that belly spill out. Whether you are teeny tiny or less than teeny tiny, we all need to engage the core, engage the belly, and activate it, because if not, then we're not using our muscles, and it just, again, will bring our technique score down. So what it really means is when they tell us to engage our tummy, is it means we could be leading with our rib cage, so we're sticking our chest out. And this happens a lot when we do like sassy jazz walks. We lead with the belly, but it's because we're trying to lead with the pelvis, but just have not mastered that yet. Yeah, with those inner thighs, we want to strengthen the lower part of the core. But we're getting there, okay? Remember, we're growing, learning, and getting better with each competition, each day in class. So that is the goal, to lead with the pelvis. But when we're younger, I know I see a lot of those sassy jazz walks with the rib cage out, and it's super cute. But the goal is to then lead with the pelvis, lowering that center of gravity rather than up here in the rib cage and bouncing all over the place. So that's the goal with that particular step. It was the biggest feedback I always got, and I could not figure out how to fix it. I could not understand what they wanted from me, and I know now what they were asking, but it's because I was so lifted that I was lifting my rib cage up and out that I was giving myself a sway back. So I was letting my tushy stick out behind me this way. And with that sway back means that my abs they're just open like this. They are not engaged and contracted in, helping my stance, helping my stability. So when we talk about the core in dance, we really usually mean like the area above the knee all the way up to the rib cage. So the core is involving our inner thighs, our tushy, and those abdominal muscles. It is not just our abs. Okay, as dancers, we really use our glutes, our booty a lot. And so what I do now as an adult, that I wish I could have understood this a little bit younger, which is why I'm here talking to you, to help you understand a little bit younger. But when I got the feedback of tummy in, then I would try to squeeze my belly in, and I'm like, I can't breathe, but I'm trying to take my feedback to the best of my ability. But that's not what they meant. What they meant was that my booty was sticking out, so my tummy was released forward, and I was just completely out of alignment. And I had a very flexible back, so I would, and you might have a flexible back too, so it doesn't hurt at that time. It doesn't feel wrong because it's easier to place the weight there. But really what they meant for me was to tuck my tushy, and that would flatten the front of my hip. So if you ever get the feedback, tummy in, think about squeezing your booty together. Squeeze your booty. You can actually see it. You can see a change in the mirror, okay? So if you're loosey-goosey and everything's hanging out, squeeze your tushy together. It should kind of give you a little wedgie of your leotard, okay? So squeeze your leotard in and see if that corrects your alignment. That's my favorite hack to fixing the tummy in, pulling the tummy in feedback. And so I encourage you to try it out if that's something you're struggling with as well. We're moving into tip number 3, and this has to do with our hands. Yes, what do I do with my hands? This is always a problem. Our hands are always so tricky. This is difficult for all ages, okay? We work so hard and so long on the lower half of the body, making sure we get the footwork and the steps, and the hands are often the last thing we add. And they just always feel a little bit awkward. Very rarely do we feel confident with what we're doing with these things. Yay. The feedback I hear a lot is stretch past your fingertips, stretch your hands. Okay, and I think this is another one where you're like, well, I think I was stretching my hands. But if you go back and look at your pictures, when you're at competition, go browse through your photos and see how many of the pictures are you extended like this. Like, what is that? What is that? We are reaching, but that is not a full reach. That's like, it's almost like a Super Mario. Okay, Superman. And that's not what we're trying to do. I know you're not trying to do that. So the hands very often are not completed. And so when the judge says, make sure you're completing your picture, this is probably like a completing my picture. How? Can you give me a little bit more? They might mean that you're not completing the picture with the ends of your limbs. So if you're reaching, you really need to reach past your fingertips. Okay, and I like to think like you have fireworks shooting out past that middle finger. So, or if you have big, pretty fingernails on, you have to reach all the way past that, and that's which way the energy needs to go. One of the things I see a lot is when the hands go like this, and I call it this, and I forget to relate what I mean a little bit better on the tapes, but it looks like kitty paws to me. Like this looks like a little, like meow. A cat paw. So when you're reaching, do you have kitty paws or are you fully extending through the hands? If you have kitty paws, let's put those away. Let's save those for when we're dancing to Cats, the musical. Even that, we would never do this. This is not a well-used step, okay? Hands are also very difficult because the feet have exact placements of where they're supposed to be, how it stretches, which way, the time of it, when it leaves the floor. And we spend so much of our time focusing on our feet that the hands often get forgotten. But they are just as important as the feet when it comes to completing the picture. Think, if you have an arabesque and the foot's like this, then you're like, ooh, I don't want to hang that photo up on the fridge. Same thing with your arms. Or you might just go like this and chop the picture off right at the wrist because you got a crazy claw hand or something happening. But we want to learn how to fix that. Next up, you might hear, I need to see more personality or use your face. And this is why this right here is the main reason why I created the FAME method. Because yeah, facial expressions are hard. And honestly, the hardest part is not doing it, because everybody can say, oh yeah, I'll just do it on stage. It's easy when I'm on stage. It's easy then because we're fighting for the award. It's hard in the classroom because we feel like we're being judged by our peers. We get embarrassed. We're worried what they're going to say about us. Remember, your stage presence is at least 25% of your score, and this is exactly why I created the FAME method. When I grew up, some facial expressions have come easier to me, but it still is really hard at your home studio because you're worried about what the others think. You see them make faces at you and you just constantly feel like they are, making fun of you. That's how we feel. It's how everybody feels. You don't think so. You think you're the only one getting singled out. There is not a step-by-step system of how to do it. There is a step-by system of how to take a ballet class. There are rules for how you begin to the end of class. There are rules for how you do a pirouette, but we have not been given the rules for our facial expressions. And that's why the FAME method is so important, because it takes away the vulnerability and fear and just gives you a playbook of what this is supposed to be doing. The same way as we are taught about what our technique is supposed to be doing, how we do a tour jeté, how we do this phrase across the floor in jazz class. Does that make sense? That's why this is so important, because it's at least 25% of your score, and that's why it's so important. It feels like it's not, because our teacher does not specifically teach it, or even if they do, a lot of you just choose not to do it and kind of refuse to do it. I had to do it in college because it was a part of our grade. Think about it. Your grade every single time you go to dance class was, if you do not participate fully, then it could make your grade suffer. And that's hard in your class right now because you don't get actual grades, but it is likability points. Yeah, you want to be liked. You want to please your teacher. If your teacher doesn't have to keep yelling at you to do facial expressions, don't you think they would like that? If you practice it in the studio and can start having more fun with every routine you do, don't you think your teachers are going to have more fun with you? Don't you think the dancers around you can start to have more fun? If we elevate the element of storytelling, of fun, of connecting to our music, then it brings us up rather than only worrying about the effort and hard work of technique. Then they can work together, and technique, hence ballet class, becomes more fun because it is not only about strength and teaching our muscles to work hard. It allows us to connect to the music, which then brings up our style, our dynamics, and our maturity to the routine. It's all a win-win. I gotta tell you, it's just a win-win for you. And to our fifth point today, this one is called stretch your feet. Now, this one is easier. I know, because if the judge says stretch your feet, you just kind of give the dancer this look, right? Like, oh, we know they're going to say that. We know that was coming. But let me break it down for you, parents, a little bit to give the kids some grace here. So, parents, if you're watching a routine and the dancer starts by pointing their toes a lot and are working and focusing on completing their lines, but then as the routine keeps going and they stop pointing their toes and they start to get floppier, long feet, this, I think, particularly happens with like ages 9 to 13 because we're going through those growth spurts and our feet are getting longer and more difficult to push through. But if we're watching that, it's not so much that they are not pointing their feet or they're not thinking about it, but that is a strength and stamina issue. So if you are hearing, make sure we're still pointing our feet towards the end of the routine, it might just mean you need to work on your stamina or your strength. So if you are those ages, 9 to 13, I highly recommend you doing that now. Don't wait any more time. Months, years can go by, and you'll still be in the same position you are now. those years are like the prime time of setting up your feet, your strength. Grab a TheraBand, do a 10-minute exercise every single day, and you're going to stop hearing that point your feet, stretch your feet as often as you are currently hearing it. Another thing is, let's talk about the different shapes of the foot, because you might think that you're pointing your feet, and that this is the second one where it's like you hear, make sure you're stretching your feet, and you're like, I am. But you might be stretching it this much, but you're not stretching it to your fullest capabilities. First, we have our flexed feet. Yes, if the foot is fully flexed back, that is perfectly fine as long as it's intentional. If it's just relaxed, like dead fish foot, that's not so good. Okay, then we're going to be told to stretch our foot. Then next we have monkey toes. Monkey toes is where we scrunch the toes. All the effort is in the toes, but we forget about the arch of the foot. Okay, that's here. Oh, I'm even doing it with my face. I can't I want to stretch my foot. Okay. Then, of course, we have biscuits. If you haven't heard of biscuits, biscuits are when the foot's almost pointed. It's like pretty good, but it's a little bit back a little bit. So it's mostly stretched, toes are pointed, but see this terrible shape here? We want to be able to go straight forward. We don't want that foot to be coming up. And then, of course, we have the fully extended foot, okay? Where we are completing our lines as beautifully as we possibly can. There you go. Those are the stages of the foot. So if you're hearing point your feet and you already thought they were pointed, you probably were in that biscuit phase, or maybe even the monkey toes phase. One thing else connected with the monkey toes is a lot of times if we're in jazz shoes, or if we're not even jazz shoes, if our feet are on the floor and we slide into the split and we adjust the foot and we get that heel kind of stuck here, and then we try to point the foot and we just can get the toes because we can't get over the heel. That's another time when we might see that foot not fully stretched, and you just have to get over your heel. Those are 5 critiques you might hear and what they mean, or what they mean you could work on if that's what you're hearing. So again, it was stand tall, tummy in or rib cage in. Even right now, I can feel my rib cage really sticking out. So they were stand tall, tummy in, stretching past the fingertips, stretch your energy out past the hands, more personality or use your face, and then stretch the feet. There you go. And of course, you can go grab your free cheat sheet at BrittanyNoltzmeier.com/55. So go grab that right now so you can finally start to understand the jargon these dance judges are saying and how you can actually start helping your child take the critiques, take the feedback, and start applying it, rather than just hearing it and letting it go in one ear and out the other and wasting a lot of time, effort, and money. Because I know you don't like wasting your money, but they cannot waste their time because they're in those prime years of their life. I'm going to leave you with one final bonus for today. When you get feedback from the judges, or when you get feedback from your teachers, that means that they see potential for growth. It is a good thing to get a lot of feedback. So if you're listening to if you're listening to a critique and you're going, dang, are they ever going to say good job, or haven't they heard of sandwiching these critiques? Maybe they are getting really excited and they're giving you note after note after note after note. That does not mean that you're bad. That does not mean you're bad at all. It probably means you are this close and they are excited for you on your educational journey. So if you ever hear those critiques, don't go, whoa, I'm not listening to this. Take it with an open mind, going, wow, this judge or this teacher actually sees a lot in me. They see that I could fix a lot in a short amount of time. Because when we are judges, when we're behind the recording device, we are given 2.5 minutes to help you change your life for the better. We are given 2.5 minutes and we hope you can listen to it, but it is our dream to help you improve, to help you become the best version of you. If you feel like things are unfair or that you're the one being picked on, it probably means that they see potential in you. It probably means that they know that you listen and are willing to improve, and that you are capable of taking it to the next level. Because when we as teachers, if we give a note and we can see you completely choose to ignore it, then we stop giving notes, because then it's not worth the breath. It's not worth the time, but it's worth it to somebody who soaks it in. So be that person to soak up all the feedback. Those are gifts for you. So take them and hold on to them. Thanks again for joining me here on Dance Colleges and Careers. Next week, we are going to continue to part 2 of the Dance Judge Jargon. So I will catch you next week. Until then, be brave, tell your story, and own the stage.